Welcome to r/Best of Redditor updates, where OP gets falsely accused of doing the worst thing an adult can do to a young child. Our next Reddit post comes from r/relationship advice. I'm a 36-year-old man, and I was falsely accused by my girlfriend's 7-year-old son of molesting him, and she won't accept that I don't want to be with her. Basically, me and my girlfriend have been together over a year and a half, and we're going great. She has a son from a previous relationship who I've not only met, but was fond of. I wouldn't say stepdad material by any means, but we had a little friendship going. The biological dad is in and out of prison and the kid's life. So I'm the only guy like that he's had in his life that fulfills any real decent male role model figure. Me and her were even talking about living together too. A few weeks ago, I get a visit from the police and they arrest me for sexually assaulting her son. I've been bailed on condition that I wouldn't go near them, and as a result, I've been placed on gardening leave at work. Last week, I got a letter saying the case had been dropped, and I no longer have to attend my next bail hearing. That was it. I rang the policeman in charge of the investigation, and at the time, he said he couldn't comment too much, as there was still an active investigation. But basically, her son confessed that he had made it up, and I'm innocent. To say that I was mad, shocked, and confused was an understatement. Basically, a couple of days later, I'd had one drink too much and rang her to confront her. She answered, all apologetic, and explained that this little effing nephew of hers, who's 12, I've always hated this kid when I've met him. He's so disrespectful and always getting into trouble at school and into fights. Anyways, this kid molested her son at this party they went to a few days before I was arrested. And when her son confessed that someone had touched him, he panicked and said that it was me instead of his cousin. I guess him being questioned by the cops scared him, so he had told the truth. I was so disgusted and just hung up on her. I deleted my social media too, so I don't have anything to do with them. She's been ringing me since, texting me, emailing me, and is basically saying, even though she's so sorry that she put me through all this, she can't be too sorry as she wanted to protect her son, but she really wants us to get back to where we were again, and her son misses me too, and has been crying saying that he hurt me. She said this can make us stronger, and we can have a good future. I haven't answered at all. I've got nothing to say. I'm thinking of ghosting her. I can't lie and say that I don't have love for her or her son. But if I'm honest, I'm way too hurt. I'd always know that she once thought that I did something so unspeakable to her son, and I'll also never be able to forget that his lies, no matter the reason, could have wrecked my life. And I'd never want the risk of running into her nephew again. I never want anything to do with him again. What should I do, Reddit? The general advice in the comments seems to be that even if OP doesn't want to be with her, which is fine, he should at least not ghost them and talk to the kid one last time because the kid was traumatized and he'll probably carry this guilt for the rest of his life. So at least offering some understanding that, the kid is 7 and got molested is probably the right thing to do here. Then, the next day, OP made a new post in r/Legal Advice UK, and after briefly explaining the situation, he continues. At the start, when I was first arrested, I was put on gardening leave at work. I've been there just over 5 years. Once I received the letter, I gave it to my employer, and my boss scheduled a meeting for this Monday with him, regional managers, and HR to determine if I still have a job. Basically, their argument is that even though I'm no longer facing any charges, my accusation and leave had leaked out online, and they said that it may hurt their reputation having me as an employee, and I no longer have the support of my colleagues, which they need to consider if it's going to affect the business long term. As it is, several colleagues have removed me from social media, and have been ghosting me socially. Do I have any recourse? I really don't want to lose my job. My money's really good, and I have a lot of perks, company car, phone allowance, etc. And not only that, I've worked really hard to get where I am. If I lose my job, there's a really good chance eventually I wouldn't be able to afford my mortgage, and I'd have to sell my house. If I do lose my job, I have no idea what sort of reference I'd get, and I would hate to have to start again from scratch elsewhere or in a job for minimum wage. What can I do? Then, 2 days later, OP posted an update. Firstly, I met up with my girlfriend. She rang me and I answered and asked if we could meet again Sunday night. Normally, I wouldn't answer, but because she had it from a withheld number and I was pissed, I said, yeah, all right. When she came around, I was all set up to be guns blazing and tell her to F off. But when I saw her, I felt all emotional and broke down. She did too. We hugged really well, and she kept on saying how awful I looked and how much weight I'd lost. She apologized and kept apologizing profusely. She said that she had to report me on the basis that her son looked so in distress, and she couldn't not report it as a mother. But she said she in hindsight knew that I wouldn't be capable of what he said that I did, and she hasn't been sleeping or thinking straight of what I could be going through. Apparently, once her son admitted to the cops that it wasn't me and it was his cousin, the police got a confession out of her nephew, and he said that he was molested himself, so he was only doing what happened to him. I couldn't try and be all nice and understanding, and I said that I couldn't care. She seemed quite stunned by this, but as she could see that I was really distressed, she didn't argue the point. Basically, she said she wanted to know where we go from here and that she loved me so much and that she wanted to know if I could move on from it. She also had a letter from her son. Basically, he's been really rough, and he was so upset about what he said that I did, and he asked if I would read it. I don't know what happened at this point, but I got really angry. I said that I couldn't read his letter. She got all pissed and said that he's only a kid and he's been struggling so much. Did our little relationship mean so little to me? I felt effing blindsided and said that it wasn't my fault he accused me of being a P-word. After a lot of arguing, raised voices, and hurt feelings, I said that I would take the letter, but I couldn't promise I'd want to reply. I mean, his accusation is going to likely ruin my career. She said she was done at this point, but stressed how much she loved me and asked if I could ever forgive them. I said I couldn't promise. She also felt awful that I was likely losing my job the next day. We hugged it out, kissed, and left it there. As for work, I arrived for my meeting, and after briefly seeing my colleagues, they were treating me like trash. One woman, who's been like my work mom and mentor, was looking down her nose instantly. I tried to talk to her, and she just walked off mid-conversation. Several others were looking at me as if I'm the worst human being ever. When I got into the meeting, it looked as if I was going to just be sacked, and that was it. But I'm a pretty good negotiator, and I managed to beat them back to being not to blame at all. Basically, we argue a deal where I resign, but they agree to give me a great reference. They also agree to pay me in full for September, October, and give me a 1,000-pound car bonus so I can buy myself a car. I'm due to go in and formally accept this Thursday. It's horrible because I've had to resign after 5 years of hard work and training and cut ties with a place where I really gave it my all and I felt like I had a future, all because I've done nothing wrong. Then, 5 days later, OP posted an update. To start out this update, OP says that he reached out to his MD, and I don't know what an MD is in this context. I think managing director or some sort of like supervisor/boss person. Long story short, I told my boss that I was taking legal advice and was looking at my local employment law specialist, and he claimed the regional bosses and HR kept him in the dark. Funny, isn't it? And he said that he was going to be in the meeting. When we got there, he was extremely apologetic and said that he was going to deal with them personally. They all looked really sheepish. Basically, we worked out a deal. As a settlement, a full 5 months salary on top of my current 3,000-pound car settlement and my usual 5% bonus of my salary. Also, they'll write me a glowing personal reference. Honestly, I was going to look into prosecuting them, but I just want this to be over, so I accepted. Hopefully, I can move on professionally. On the subject of my now ex, I decided to read the little boy's letter. It was more of an S note, and for context here, guys, I don't know what OP means by S note, possibly suicide note, but it doesn't sound like it. But OP continues. It basically said, "Dear OP, I'm sorry, I love you, you're my best friend," or something like that. If I was a cold person, I'd not feel bad. I'm not at all, and I hadn't drunk for a couple of days. So I sent him a note through the mail. Basically, I said that I was sorry for what happened to him, and I hoped that he could forgive himself in time. And also, I hoped that life would be kind to him. I also rang my now ex and said that I wanted a clean break and I was ending it. She was really crying and said that she was sorry. I said that I forgave her and acknowledged that she did what she had to do. She said that she truly loved me and would have carried on with me if I wanted to. I ended it there. My cousin, who I looked at staying with, is on holiday, so I've booked 3-week holiday in Inverness from Monday and I'm going camping. Hopefully, I can make it a clean break. Then, 1 month later, we have another update. I was gonna just block her and go away, but a commenter on my last post said that she may misconstrue that taking time away meant only a temporary break from her, and I was leaving the door open to reconcile, which I didn't want to do. Despite all that went on, I still care for her and didn't want her to suffer. I went around her house to tell her in person. I basically said I needed to end it and cut all contact indefinitely because of all that's going on, and that I could forgive them but never really forget what they did. She apologized again and said that she still loves me, and did I love them? And I said no, and she went hysterical, so I left. I blocked her on everything, deleted my social media, and went on my holiday to Scotland. I was only supposed to be there for 3 weeks, but I stayed nearly 4 and only got back yesterday. My friend who knows us spoke to me today and said that my ex has been trash talking about me, saying on her Facebook especially that I've abandoned her and her son, etc. I don't care. I'm looking to move away and start afresh, so I don't care at this stage. I really hope OP and the kids in this story can recover from this. You know what's so awful is that the original molester, the one who molested the 13-year-old boy, his horrible act ruined the lives of the 13-year-old boy, the 17-year-old boy, OP, and also, to a lesser extent, the mom. So many lives destroyed just because of one terrible person. Our next Reddit post is from rSlash relationship advice. My 18-year-old brother has been poisoning my 24-year-old girlfriend for the past 3 years. My girlfriend has always been allergic to lactose, very severely, to the point where if she had any traces in her food, she would basically poop herself on the spot, ever since she was a kid. My brother and I have always been on good terms, and always hung out together until 3 years ago when I met my girlfriend. He started getting more distant and mean towards me, talking about how she's ruining our bro-ship and taking me away from our family and him. I told him he was crazy and didn't think too much of it until recently. Going back to 3 years ago, when I introduced Katie to my parents, he was livid. I moved out 6 months later because I was tired of his constant complaining about her coming over to sleep and hang out. Ever since then, he would have family dinners at my parents' every month on Sundays. My family is Italian, so we eat a lot of pasta and sauce, which is relevant. My parents always made 2 separate meals ever since they met her. One with no milk for Katie and one with milk for the rest of us. She never had any issues unless there was an accidental cross-contamination, which happened every so often. The problem was, every month at those dinners, she was getting sick to the point of rushing to the bathroom and having excruciating diarrhea for an hour with severe cramps. Every single time. At one point, I started refusing to go, and my parents kept insisting, so I gave it another try. It was fine for a few months, and then it started yet again. This goes on and off for 2.5 years. I got really mad last week and got up in the middle of dinner and said to my parents, "Something is up and someone is messing with Katie's food." My parents go quiet and ask me why I would say that. My brother turns rather pale and stopped smiling. I knew it was him. I confronted him, and he started crying, saying he felt like he had to get payback at her for stealing away his big brother, that it wasn't fair. He said that he was adding milk to the batch made for her, and that he had no regrets. I was absolutely livid. Katie was as well. She excused herself and asked me to drive her back to our place. It's been 3 months, and she cut contact with my parents. Katie refuses to talk to them anymore because they should have had my brother in check and given him a worse punishment. He literally just got a talk and a smack on the back of his head, and that was it. And she said that she can't believe that I didn't stop talking to them as well. My parents, on the other hand, are mad that we let this little incident break our relationships. My girlfriend says that if I keep contacting them and insisting she forgives my brother, she's going to leave me. I love this girl to death. We've got plans to buy a house eventually and have kids. But on the other hand, I love my parents too, but I can't have both anymore. What should I do? Then, 1 day later, OP posted an update. I've read over 200 comments from you guys, and it just validated my mind that my family is messed up. I contacted my mom and confronted her about why she would defend my idiotic brother, and she basically said that he was young and stupid. I told her a few of your comments and that Katie could press charges, and my mom broke down crying, saying that he wouldn't do it again. Hell no he won't, because I told her I decided to cut them off for good. Katie was actually relieved when I told her that I was on her side and cut them off. Basically, she told me she was going to dump me for being an idiot who couldn't support his girlfriend of 3 years when she was basically being tortured for fun. I'm just glad she didn't do that, and we're getting through this together. Thank you guys for every comment, even the ones calling me out for being an idiot trying to make Katie forgive my brother for the horrible thing he did. When you're faced with this kind of dilemma and you've been close to your family for over 20 years, you get blindsided. So me and Katie cut them out starting today, and we plan on moving to the USA next year. We've always wanted to live there, and finally be far away from them. I like this top comment from Kale Thier. No, she's ruining our broship, he said as he plunged the dagger into his brother's back again and again. Right? If you care about your brother, wouldn't you want him to be happy and, happily married to a decent girl? What I find most amazing with this story is how can these people be fooled for almost 3 years? Clearly, someone was adding milk to her food. Isn't that just painfully obvious? That was r/Best of Redditor updates. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.